the men in that Kamala campaign ad, Mindrunner. I think you're right. And did you read about that campaign ad?
I think
They're
he's
a bunch
too
of
masculine.
actors. Say it again, Chico.
I think he's too masculine for that.
Yeah.
Also, I will be taking the name Chico Mexican from now on.
You got it.
I appreciate it.
You got it. Well, if I wasn't dying before after Steph's Kamala impression, especially the one you just got laid, I'm sure dying now. Haha. And of course, haha to Mike McRae. Send an email to Misha. Please
Steph, I think
read.
you have the best impression of her, honestly. I've seen a bunch of them. I think yours is the best one I've seen.
You're the sweetest.
I'm not being sweet. I wouldn't be. I'm telling you it's the best one.
Thanks again, Chico. I like calling him Chico now. Mari Rose. Thank you, Mari Rose. Hey, Kurt, ever heard of the Phoenician tablets or of Michigan copper found in North America? Corn Pop wants to know.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did. Oh, how's Corn Pop doing?
Corn Pop's doing well.
You go to the pool much anymore? Or you ever since Biden changed you out?
Corn Pop, do you go to the pool? Let us know, Corn Pop. Hi, Steph. Tara Thrall's here. I saw Dylan at Forest Hills when he first introduced his electric music. Jimmy, do you remember when Dylan introduced his electric music? For some reason, I thought you did.
Yes, I do. It was at the...
you can show Jimmy.
It was like, I think, up in San Francisco or something at some festival. It was like a folk music festival or something, and he starts playing electric music, and they went nuts. They would buy tickets to go see him and boo him after that.
You were at that?
No.
That's like a fame. Oh,
no, I just know about it.
Yeah, that's famous when they started to go in electric, and then later, years later, because my friend's dad was a huge Dylan fan, they were boo him because they couldn't hear a goddamn word he was saying.
Yeah.
And people go, yeah, thanks for nothing, Bob.
They would boo. They would literally buy tickets to show up and boo him. They would sit in the front row and boo him. And one night, one of his band members said to him, "What do we do if they start booing?" And Bob Dylan said, "Play louder."
Oh, I thought you said pray to Satan like I do.
And then he would wear white, and like later, he would wear white, like if you were going to a kabuki theater or something, his face, he would paint it white. And it was because he was playing such big venues, he wanted people to be able to see his face.
We should have done blackface.
Haha.
They'd all have heard about it.
Well, Tara was saying she saw Dylan at Forest Hills when he first introduced his electric music. Half the stadium left. He invited the rest of us to come down and fill the empty seats. It was epic. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's a weird thing to be mad at him about, by the way. That's like...
Well, it was like a
it's
culture.
It's his style.
It was like a cult, but it was like he was turning his back on the culture. It was like...
As he should. The Manson family happened.
It was like Bernie Sanders endorsing Joe Biden. You know, it's like, what? We're supposed to be against this.
Right. Well, I get the analogy, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, electric versus acoustic is, I mean, now I see why boomers of today have they're freaking out still that Trump, I don't know what they think he did with the election because Biden, as you know, was the president. But you know how they're like, and he didn't say right away Biden's president. Like, they're still mad about that. And you're like, that's your problem in life?
So just to let you know, this is real. The Defense Department, with a stroke of the pen, has quietly codified its right to deploy a lethal force against its own citizens. Now, I always thought that was against the law. I'm going to show you it in a second, but I think it's called the Kami Positanis or something. I don't know how to say those.
Posse
Comitatus. That's it.
The Kami Positanis. It should be that.
It should be that.
Posse Comitatus Act.
The Kami Positatus.
You know, like Kami Positano.
It's like Kami Positano over in Italy. This is not a drill. The reissue of Directive 5240.01 is a declaration of intent. The military is an entity designed for external enemies, now turns its gaze inward, poised to act with deadly precision when the inevitable clash of wills erupts. This is design. They anticipate conflict and their anticipation, they prepared the battlefield, our streets, our homes, our lives, and they will strike with the full force of war machine built to crush foreign adversaries, but now aligned to dismantle internal dissent. Do you think I'm making this up?
No, I think it's what we do around the world, and they're just going to do it to us. So all the CIA handbook of how to screw up a country, they're going to use it on us now. That's all it is. It's real dark. When people see how dark it is, they're going to be like, wow, I can't believe we were doing that to other countries. They're going to do it to you now.
The facade of representative government crumbles as the state arms itself with not just with weapons, but with the legal and bureaucratic tools to enact violence under the guise of order. What was once unthinkable is now written, approved, and ready to be executed. This is not preparation for defense. This is preparation for domination. Be warned, when the state moves in silence, it's because it expects resistance. Martial law was always the goal. So this is it. It's from the Department of Defense, the DoD Directive 5240.01, Department of Defense Intelligence and intelligence-related activities, and Defense Intelligence Component assistance to law enforcement agencies.
Finally.
And when is this from? This is from September 27th, 2024.
Well, January 6th, Jimmy. I'm sure it's justified.
Oh, January.
Look, I want to just clear up your misinformation, Jimmy. It doesn't say that in literal words. It just has a loophole where they can do that. And they probably won't, right? They're not going to use a legal loophole to do something crazy.
So here it is, all the levels of authority. And I'm going to highlight this for you right here. Assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality. So what that means is they're going to kill the military will now has the right to kill American citizens. That's what that is.
Finally.
Assistance in responding with assets with potential for lethality or any situation in which it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force. So
assets is really scary.
Assets.
That could mean a lot of stuff. Assets means a lot.
Including death or serious bodily injury. It also includes all support to civilian law enforcement officials in situations where a confrontation between civilian law enforcement and civilian individuals or groups is reasonably anticipated.
Mm-hmm. So you know all those weird people that have been trying to kill Trump that have been popping off? Assets, they're not saying soldiers, they're saying assets. So that means anything they have at their disposal. And you know what they have? A bunch of killers they can activate at a moment's notice. They've been bringing terrorists in here, just regular ones. Yeah. That's a fact. And then there's ones that they make, and they can activate them at will. And I bet you they will.
George Moore says the Posse Comitatus Act, or better known as the Commie Positano Act, limits the federal government from using the military for domestic law enforcement. However, very quietly, on September 27th of 2024, within 6 weeks before the election, the Department of Defense amended the Department of Defense Directive 5240.01 to allow lethal force. Why now? Asked George Moore.
I wouldn't even hazard a guess why.
So Posse Comitatus goes the way of the rest of our buried Constitution.
Yeah.
We're being occupied by international interests and our so-called allies, right?
Yeah, it's called the UN. Have you ever heard of it? It's the State Department, this Council on Foreign Relations.
Yeah.
It's you live in the chump part of called America, which is the shell company.
And here it is. Just because they're making it an official statement that they can now use the military to kill you, that doesn't mean they're going to do it, right?
Yeah, well, they always could because Obama did it to American citizens, as you recall, but now they can do it here on our own soil. Just like when we learned about the Smith Modernization Act on this, the first time this show ruined my week when I learned about how the Smith Modernization Act worked, because that was a thing that crazy conspiracy nuts had told me, and they told it to me in a stupid way. And I was told by famous Hollywood actors, reliable sources, how stupid that was. And then, I don't know, 5 to 6 years later, I find out, no, the stupid person who told me that was dead right. They just didn't know how to express the legal vagaries, which the guest, John Kiriakou, did. And it really got me down because I was like, oh, that's stupid for 5 years. That's how easy it is to trick people, especially me.
So do you think they're covering for stuff that they're already kind of doing already? Unless,
of course.
And they just really intend to step it up with soldiers on the streets?
No, look, they didn't kill Trump. And you think they're going to let Trump go in the White House? I think Russell was right about they're never going to let Trump enter the White House ever again or do everything they can.
So this is because like one theory would be they're getting ready to rig an election, and it's going to be obvious they rigged it. And so they're going to have to put military on the streets to calm people down.
Yeah, that's why they're so upset about how bad Kamala is doing. Because the numbers are fake. There's no way she's even doing remotely well. There's no way. Idiots.
Black people don't like her.
Anybody that knows anything, if you don't know anything about it, you have the privilege of not knowing.
Right.
So because they destroyed the middle class, the original fools of idiots that don't care about poor people, right? That's your shield to keep the people from getting mad at you. And they've removed that. They know that. And the programming don't work with identity politics anymore. BLM was a bust. I don't know if anybody remembers. Well, they do. They're mad about it to this very day. And so now, what are they going to do? How are they going to be able to pull off the scam that Kamala really won? They're not.
They are.
Well, maybe.
Well, of course they are. Look at
now they have this.
They pulled off Building 7 on 9/11. They pulled off the Iraq War, the Syrian War, the Afghanistan War for 20 years. They pulled off Libya. They're pulling off Ukraine right in front of your eyes. They're pulling it all off. Of course they're pulling it all off.
They're not going to be able to pull it off. It's the same reason Epstein is probably like
they pulled off Russiagate. They pulled off COVID, right. Kurt.
Yeah, right. You can only do that so long. That it's a great trick, but you can only do it 30 times. We have an internet, and I believe that has backfired, and you can see the panic about it at every corner of everything.
But Kurt, here's my question. Where are they going to find Americans who are willing to open fire on other Americans? Oh, wait. I think there was an open border for the last couple of years, and they have 10 million. Yeah. That would be perfect.
Dreamers. I think they're called dreamers.
I mean, where are they going to get soldiers to open fire on Americans? It's not like we're on campus in Ohio during the 1970s. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of their first projects, by the way. I don't believe that guy. I don't even know all his details, but I already can guess how they did it.
So here's the Posse Comitatus Act. It says the United States federal law, original, signed on 1878. This law was signed by President Rutherford B. Hayes, and it limits the power of the federal government in the use of federal military personnel to enforce domestic policies within the United States. So you can't use the military to enforce domestic policies, meaning whatever, martial law, whatever. Congress
they used to do that a lot.
Congress passed the act as an amendment to an Army appropriations bill following the end of the Reconstruction and updated it in 1956, 1981, and in 2021. The original act only applied to the Army, but then they made it apply to the Air Force in 2021. They also made it cover the Navy and the Marine Corps and the Space Force.
Mm-hmm.
The act does not prevent the Army National Guard or the Air National Guard under state authority from acting in a law enforcement capacity within its home state or in an adjacent state if invited by that state's governor. The United States Coast Guard is not covered by the Posse Comitatus Act either, primarily because although it is an armed service, it also has a maritime law enforcement mission. So
the whole world is the sea.
Yeah.
They're a blue water land navy, Jimmy.
Yeah. So even Ron Paul caught on to this. Here's Ron Paul.
Start off.
Oh, gotta be.
What happened?
But we want to start off with a headline from Zero Hedge. It's pretty hot headline. U.S. military now is authorized to kill Americans on U.S. soil. That can't be possible. Yeah. This would open up the door for the careless use, and if more frequent and legal. It'll be legal now, so nobody will have to worry about that. Send in the troops. We need you to shoot a couple of these people. Yeah. They're opposing our policies. They're demonstrating against COVID rules or something they'll come up with. So I think it's very, very dangerous.
So here it is. Now, Zero Hedge picked it up from Armageddon Pros, which is a Substack which they often run. It says, U.S. military now authorized to kill Americans on U.S. soil? Just ahead, intriguingly, of November elections, and that was my second thought, the military has granted itself permission to unleash lethal force on the civilian population. Again, I thought this has got to be an exaggeration, so I went and looked, and actually go to the next one, because this explains what it is. Now, it's not a law. It's a DOD directive. So this is, the administrative state where they take over. They don't pass laws. They are laws unto themselves. Go to the next one if you can, because this is what they're talking about. And I went on and I read this secondly, and it talks about a reissued DOD directive that was reissued just on September 27th, 2024. It governs the Department of Defense intelligence activities and now includes provisions authorizing lethal force in certain circumstances. And it supplants the 2016 version, which did not mention that. So I read all of this, too, which is someone else's analysis. I said, okay, this sounds even more troubling. I want to go look at the document itself. And so go to the next one. I actually went and looked at the DOD directive. It's DOD Directive 5240.01. Now go to the next one. I'm just going to get to this really quick so I can just show people this is on their own website. Now this is Section 3 of that directive. Assistance to law enforcement agencies and other civil authorities. Now go to the next one. Now this is levels of authority. This is
and
section
there it is.
3.3.
May provide.
Defense intelligence components may provide personnel to assist a federal department or agency, including a federal law enforcement agency or a state or local law enforcement agency, when lives are in danger in response to such a request for such assistance in accordance with the following approval authorities. Now, here are the authorities. I'm sorry to get so far into the woods here, but go to the next one. Responding with assets with potential for lethality. And I underlined this, I highlighted it, or any situation where it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death or serious bodily injury. I'm sorry to bog the discussion down with that, Dr. Ball, but I really wanted to hone in on this is their actual document. It's not just someone's analysis.
Jimmy, one other thing, because the National Guard, you think would be enough to shoot American citizens. They already are legally allowed to use several groups. So they need the whole army to be authorized to do that. So remember how if Trump got killed, there would have been under COG, continuance of government laws, and it would not have gone to the next person in line. Would have gone to Greg Gillett from NORAD, and he would have divided America up into zones. This is how it's written out. And so how are you going to enforce that where you radically change America into a group of zones with a law that was originally intended in case of nuclear war, but later amended with the Patriot Act? Well, I bet you need the whole military to do that. I bet the National Guard wouldn't be enough to fight the civilians. So look, Dana Gould, before he lost his mind, had this great point about torture. When they legalize torture, he goes, of course they're going to torture. But these ghouls want to make it legal. Making it illegal just keeps it to a kind of a minimum. Making it legal means it's going to be more torture than ever. That's what this is.
That's what this is.
And Dana Gould would not accept that point now if I told it to him.
No, he would not. No, he's also
his own point.
He's also lost his mind. He's one of those people, don't do your own research. Dana Gould, former executive producer of The Simpsons. He lost his mind like the rest of Hollywood.
If someone tells you don't do your own research, do you really think that's not a form of mind control? Because I feel like it is.
It is. Of course it is.
They told you not to.
They're telling you not to read. They're telling you reading is dangerous. Yeah. You should only reading should be left to the experts. You have to be an expert.
Such a far out. That doesn't. It's so absurd and so doesn't make sense. That what other conclusion can you have than a deliberate, some kind of hypnotic thing
but
that
they all
works
do
on
it.
some people better than others?
Name a top comedian who didn't do it besides Joe Rogan.
Who didn't say it?
Who didn't say shit like that? Name a top comedian.
I wouldn't be able to do that anyway. Anyway, because I really don't watch a bunch of people unless like You know, I only care about myself. But I I think it depends on how entrenched you are in a really good Hollywood job where you're rubbing elbows with big stars for it. And if you're not, you just wouldn't talk about it. And then if you meet me, you see me in the green room, we might talk about it, but you're not going to say it out loud. I think it's mostly that. But there's a rare special breed that's really going to extra suck up. You know,
I've had A-list comedians when I come off stage after I'll do my bit about COVID, and they'll whisper to me, "Yeah, I got shingles from the, I got shingles in my eye." They'll whisper to me their side effects.
Yeah. Well, that's encouraging. They're just cowards and not full zombies. That's a glass half
Yeah.
full.
All right. Over to Steph.
All right. Venezuelan gangs are our only hope. Colorado Watch. Thank you for that one. Remember Kent State, JD set?
Yeah, that was that's the joke I made.
The U.S. military was used against civilians in 1932. Never forget the bonus army, Steve B. The elites are not worried about which party wins. They're worried when we decide that the whole election is a farce and refuse to be ruled by them. Sound chaser.
Yeah, well, they got their bunkers done first, didn't they? That was the big news. All of them, all at the same time, have special bunkers everywhere. And now this,
Right, right. And we don't.
Yeah, and it's at least be entertaining to watch people slowly realize. I'm starting to see it now because of the Diddy thing that people don't know anything because it has trickled out so much are now, like when the Epstein thing came out, you can't put that back in two. They've covered up a bunch of these scandals and nobody remembers any of them except Epstein because the internet. And
Right.
now Diddy, now just how Amber Heard is in the stupid people zone. So that's when they realized Me Too was garbage. The Diddy thing is also in that because so much hip hop. So that's bringing the other people. It's really something. So they're onto it because they got to prepare with bunkers and making the army legally able to kill you. That's how you know that people are catching on, I think.
I agree. ZX says this is a coup. It certainly seems like one, ZX. A coup, like wide open, just right in our faces. Hollow says Australia granted a labeling exemption for the COVID-19 vaccine under the Poison Standard Act, specifically authorization to supply or administer SARS-CoV-2 COVID-19 vaccine. Hollow, I had to leave out one word, and I think you know why. All right.
All
right. Back to Jimmy.
Hey, they're sending more money to Ukraine in case you're worried that Ukraine didn't have enough money. While
how much? Let's see more.
while the people who were wiped out by 2 hurricanes in the United States are begging for $700 that they won't give them.
Yeah.
Biden administration announces additional security assistance for Ukraine.
Yeah.
The Biden administration, I suspect that there's some elder abuse happening here.
It seems like it. Remember the Astor widow and her son got prosecuted for taking advantage of her in her old age?
So, yes. So, how much, he says, the presidential drawdown authority package, in which an estimated value of $425 million will be provided to Ukraine. $425 million. So, I mean, at least it's only in the millions. It's not in the billions like it used to be. So I think we're kind of, it's like instead of going cold turkey, you're kind of taper off drinking. It's like, just one more shot.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Just a little
It's
bit.
not enough to do anything, right?
Right? Just a shot to take the edge off. It's not, I'm not getting drunk. It's
Remember in
just
Chicago?
just $500 million.
It's not that much. That's what you would charge Trump for a non-crime that's being overturned.
That's right. That's right. Here's our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken. He says, today I am announcing the delivery of $425 million of support for Ukraine's defense. The United States and more than 50 nations stand united with Ukraine, and this support will ensure continued robust support in the months ahead. And he also added, the president totally said that it was his idea, and it's not like we put a pen in his dead hand and moved it around to make him sign it. That would be crazy. That would be absolutely crazy. Ian Carroll says, remind us again how much has gone to hurricane survivors in your own country effing traitor.
Well, they spent a lot of money generating the hurricane, so you got to give them that. Very expensive weaponry.
I know there's a lot of these high up political figures who are supposed to be swingers, but I know there's a lot of Americans who wouldn't mind see them swinging, if you know what I'm talking about.
They certainly talk like they're afraid of that, don't they?
And for my idiot friends in Hollywood, like my ex-friend Vance, who revealed his complete hypnosis he's under by the mainstream news media yesterday on Twitter to me. Go to my Twitter feed. You won't believe it. You won't believe it. That's a grown man with kids who believes there isn't a thing he doesn't believe that comes out of MSNBC or CNN. So just to remind them, just to remind people like that, people with absolutely no brain power whatsoever and not an original thought in their life, this is a very quick, is a 2-minute synopsis of how we got to where we are in the Ukraine war. It's not because Putin's evil and he woke up one day and decided to invade Ukraine. Jeffrey Sachs is going to tell you exactly what happened.
Does Vance work the road?
Does Vance work? No, he was never able to become
There you go. That's called being provincial, never traveling, and being a bumpkin.
That's right.
Anybody on the road could see what's happening, but all the guys you know that aren't on the road,
that's right.
That's why they don't know anything.
No, he was never able to become a working comedian. But here we go.
Well, yeah, the war began 10 years ago when Victoria Nuland not only passed out cookies on Maidan, but engaged in insurrection to violently overthrow a government in Ukraine. Pretty stupid.
That means the CIA overthrew the democratically elected government in Ukraine in 2014. That was a decade ago. That's how this war started. And now he's telling you how stupid that is. Why is that stupid?
Stupid to have a regime change operation on a country with a 2,000 kilometer border with Russia. That's our American foreign policy. That's when this war started. This war didn't start in February 2022. It started in February 2014. It started with Nuland. It started with Blinken. It started with Sullivan. It started with Biden, who was a key person in that whole thing. And then the fighting went on for 10 years. And then in December 2021, Putin said, look, stop the NATO enlargement. We can avoid an escalation. I talked to the White House at that point. Nah, we don't stop anything. They just thought they had all the cards. We're going to cut them out of the SWIFT banking system. We're going to bring the economy to the knees. Bunch of nonsense by ignorant people. And so Putin escalated. He didn't start the war. He escalated the war. And within basically a week, Zelensky said, okay, we can be neutral. And the Turks mediated negotiations. And then, though the U.S. government wants to hide all of these facts, which are sitting out there for those who know where to find them, the U.S. intervened and told the Ukrainians, you keep fighting. And we have our senators who say this is the best money that money can buy because it's Ukrainians dying, not Americans. They're weakening Russia. Well, they're not weakening Russia, but they are killing Ukrainians. So this is not responding to Putin's invasion. The war started 10 years ago, and we kept refusing every off-ramp. Till this day, Robbie, you hear Putin say, and if you listen, every day we're open to negotiations. And then these fools in the U.S. government say, there's no one to negotiate. They don't want to negotiate. And then President Putin says, oh, we're open to negotiation. Oh, there's no one to negotiate is what we hear from the U.S. side. This is just narrative.
So you know why negotiating doesn't make anybody more money.
Yeah, that's the only disagreement I have with him is, no, they're not fools. You're the fool if you believe that they think that. They know what they're doing. That's what they think. That stupidity that they say is what they think of you. Because they got their own agenda, which is why they keep it up. There's no way this loser of a war, just like all the other wars, the only reason they keep going is because someone way above your pay grade wants it that way for reasons that don't help you or Ukraine.
That is correct. Just like, I mean, people really, after the Iraq War, after 20 years of lies about Afghanistan, after Syria, after Libya, you still believe these people when they tell you about Ukraine, what it's all about? Yes, they do. My dumb shithead comedian friends who pat themselves on the back and virtue signal all day and think they're on the right side of history are complete dupes of the establishment and the war machine. They need people like that. The establishment could not function without people like my old stupid shithead comedy friends.
They need more of them. They don't have enough. Because all they got is every friend you've ever known, apparently. And they got adult Disney fans and then people who still wear COVID masks. That's the last of the demographic.
Well, they have every late night comedian.
Who would that be? I'm not counting Jimmy Kimmel. I'm not counting any of them. Not one of them.
The people who quote unquote host the late night comedy shows.
I've never considered them comedians. Jimmy Kimmel was never a stand-up. He was always just a host with another guy.
Right.
Fallon was a guitar comic who did sketch. Who's left now? Craig, what's his name? Ferguson used to be a comedian.
No, Craig Ferguson's not on TV anymore.
Yeah, right. So no, this is
it's
like
Stephen Colbert. Who comes on after Stephen Colbert now?
Colbert's an actor. He's a dumb actor, much like all the media.
Who comes on
no
after
one's
Stephen
left
Colbert?
who does their job except actors. There's just paid actors.
Is there even a late show anymore? Did they get rid of it after James Corden? Did they get rid of that show? I remember they kept trying to get D.H. Hughley to host that show, but I guess he didn't poll good enough with the. They really.
Dude, that guy used to say smart things, and he's gone. He's gone now. I've seen him being smart on other shows, and all of a sudden, at a certain point, he went with everybody else.
Who hosts the Late Show on CBS? No, it's over. I think it's over. I think there's another show there now, hosted by another. It's a different kind of comedy show.
Put on an infomercial. That's all you need. Nobody cares about TV anymore. I can't believe people still worry about a Hollywood dream still. How do you even have that in your head?
Well,
how do people still hold on to that?
Especially now that you have YouTube and TikTok and Rumble and
Taylor Tomlinson has that show.
Taylor Tomlinson.
That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, she has a show, but I don't think it's called a Late. It's called something else now.
I think it's After Midnight.
It's called After Midnight.
Oh, look, Andrea says After Midnight with Taylor Tomlinson. Yes.
Didn't Chris Hardwick used to host a show? It was called At Midnight.
I used to do that show.
At Midnight. I never got invited to do that show.
No, I was there when Artie Lang got kicked off because he tweeted whatever about some reporter, his fantasy or something. And I remember my joke. They were like, "What reckless thing would you do?" And I go, "The most dangerous thing of all: speak my mind on Twitter."
All right, we're gonna go to Rumble.
Yes, we are.
So
Hold on, let me put it in the chat now. Now that I got the okay.
We're gonna head over to Rumble. We'll see you over there. We got lots more.